Hello, everyone. Thank you, Ara, for that introduction. From all the introductions I've had, that was probably the most recent one I've had. So thank you very much. So today, speaking to a little bit to what Ara was talking about, engineering practices and developer experience and breaking down silos, not really going to talk about observability or Datadog. It's more about three things I'd hopefully want everyone to go away with. That, number one, you can modernize your tech stack, but that happens incrementally. Number two, your tech stack choice is important. Not all tech stacks are born equal. And number three, ways of working are even more important than your tech stack. So the two are coupled together. My full name is Apostolis Apsolidis. People know me as Tolly. I'm a principal engineer at Flipdish, leading a team called Delivery Enablement. And I joined Flipdish about almost a year ago. And Flipdish is a very exciting new era. It's part of a very exciting new era of restaurant tech companies that are there to battle the marketplaces that you all know. Hopefully you're not here. To offer to independent restaurants, small businesses, the opportunity to have simple tech, both for hardware and software, to run their business, run their restaurants. And today's three things I want to go through. So number one, why we tackled restaurant loyalty, and I'll talk a little bit about what that means. Straight into number two, which is the most important one, how we served restaurant loyalty to the customers. And number three, what we learned, what we achieved from there. So to start with, I sort of hinted at that, but independent restaurants are small businesses that are usually relying on out-of-date solutions. They have physical cards to stamp for loyalty. They've got third-party companies that are all integrated. It's a very fragmented industry. So they do like rewarding their loyal customers, which is why you see all those kind of cards all the time wherever you go to small restaurants. And they want to do that both online, so online ordering, but also in person when you go and order food in person. And the reason for that is loyal customers generate 10x more revenue than one-time eaters. So they have a real incentive to do this. So that's kind of the main reason why we decided to tackle this problem of offering restaurants the ability to run loyalty programs, both online and in store. But also, something, hopefully, we're not alone with this, we actually promised it to a customer. So we had to actually deliver this. It made loads of sense, but we promised it to Oakfire Pizza in Ireland. We're an Ireland-based company. So we said we're going to do it. So next question was, well, okay, how are we going to do that? How are we going to approach this problem? How are we going to offer satisfyingly simple loyalty across both in person and online? So we jumped onto this opportunity, this increment, I guess, of our software to say, right, okay, how can we do this differently? How can we actually evolve our architecture, evolve our tech stack, our ways of working with this opportunity? So we decided to deliver Loyalty 360, which is what we termed it, but also at the same time demonstrate a better way of working, but also pave the way for other teams. And that third one was really, really important. So this is the story of one loyalty customer problem, two small teams. Some members of the teams are here. Hey, Ian, James, and Chad. And 5 ingredients of what I think was success. And this was over 4 months, which includes Christmas, so it doesn't really count, about 2.5 to 3 months. And these are the 5 ingredients that I think were really, really important for our journey in those 3 or 4 months. First of all, start with events. Secondly, go serverless. Number 3, support the team. Number 4, work together. And finally, and probably my favorite, show the thing. So I'll go step by step to show you what these mean. Has anyone, just a quick show of hands, used or heard of a technique called event storming? Yeah? Not too many. What about event? Keep your hand up if you've heard of, or put your hand up if you've used event modeling before. Perfect, awesome. A handful of hands. So you can look up what event modeling is, eventmodeling.org, but we use this technique, which is very similar to event modeling, but it's something that helped us articulate what we want to build. And more importantly, it wasn't only one person, the UX designer or the product person. It was everyone in the team actually designing this model. We start with events. So you could probably argue that everyone can understand these events. Sale created, loyalty card stamped, phone number entered, sale paid, etc. And then I think Ara mentioned it earlier about customer interactions. These are actual customer interactions where the person on the till asks the person who's putting in the order, do you want to be part of our loyalty program? They say yes, then they ask for their phone number, all that kind of stuff. That was one of the first things we did. We thought about the user. And this is an example of one of the models, many of these, but this model is actually the first visit to a store, but you've ordered online before. So that's and you identify yourself as with a phone number. And the goal is that if you've ordered online, you get one stamp, then you go into the store, you get a second stamp. And if you zoom into this, I won't go through the notation too much, but event modeling uses commands, events, and views, and you can see how it sort of works. You create a sale, which is a command that creates an event called sale created. Then with a customer interaction, you get the phone number entered, as I mentioned earlier. You get a view of a phone number, and something happens in the background, and you upset the customer. This is one of the first things that we did. And that was really good to start. Like, once you put this out on a mirror board, you can start then thinking about the system. So the next thing we did is we chose to move to serverless. We were traditionally in Azure. We were in the cloud. We're very much .NET house, but we actually thought, well, we'll break from that. We'll go AWS Lambda, use things like DynamoDB, a serverless database, and use something like SST, which really amplifies that developer experience. And I've probably missed a trick here with like some kind of pizza place analogy. But really, the difference between the two paradigms, the one on the left is where your streamline team, or the team that delivers the feature of the product, owns the apps, and then the platform team, which is the team that I work in, manages the cloud hosting services, the cloud governance, and that has, speaking to the previous talk, that has connotations with dev and ops and all the decisions that need to be made and what decisions are made based on that. Whereas moving to serverless, you still have the team owning the apps, but they also own their own serverless services. They're not relying on a different team, and the platform team can really focus on cloud governance. And in a way, one of my colleagues, Mark, put it really, really well. It's all about how can you lift yourself out of a local optima. It's not that we weren't in a good position. We were, and we could have easily moved to something like .NET or just continued where we were. But we wanted to wander away a bit and go a bit further down and then see if we can find a higher hill. And that's where we thought, we went from something like .NET Framework or .NET to AWS Lambda. And for reference, I won't go too much into this. If anyone's heard of Simon Wardley, there's a great talk online called Crossing the River, Feeling the Stones, I think. And that's where you can hear a great argument about moving to serverless, and this was in 2018. And in terms of developer experience, this is another colleague of mine, Tamash, noticed that 11 a.m. we started writing some code, and by 2:20, he's written a post saying, we're good, we're ready for the show and tell. That was something we weren't used to, and is an amazing step improvement of a developer experience. Obviously, I think they've had lunch as well in between, hopefully. So the third thing, and this is where we start thinking a bit more in terms of how we go about doing this. The third thing is supporting the team. So I'm going to use notation from Teams Apologies, if anyone's aware of this, but Restaurant 360 is a team that delivered the product, and they said, we want to build a Loyalty 360 service that integrates with existing systems. And we're like, great, okay, but you need to then speak to all these other teams and collaborate with them and collaborate with our team, deliver enablement, and that's great because if you do it for a short term, there's loads of innovation. We can work together on these things, and it's great, but then if you do it for too long, that really reduces fast flow. So where you want to get to is to this more clean way of working over time, where the three teams on the top are working independently or autonomously, and the delivery enablement team is offering things as a service. So you increase fast flow, you reduce cognitive load, and everything is great. But you need to be quite intentional when you do this. So for example, Restaurant 360 would look after the application and the infrastructure because we've chosen the tech stack that will allow them to do this. And delivery enablement will think about, well, how can I introduce AWS to the team in terms of capabilities? How can I govern AWS and things like that? And ways of working as well. So being very, very intentional with how you do this, I think, is a very critical ingredient of how you deliver tech modernization. Fourth thing is working together. I can't emphasize enough how powerful it is to work together and forget about individual silos. Forget about handing out tickets to people and going away and reporting back. Because it can be quite liberating, whether we're talking about learning sessions, mobbing on code, designing with other teams, things like that. When we decided to go to AWS serverless, one of the first things we did, we said, okay, let's jump on a call all together, watch a video. Watch a video. If you ever watched the video by Rook Houlihan, there's no chance you can watch it at any speed. He talks really, really fast anyway. But it's amazing. Like, you can get loads and loads of context really quickly about how to work with DynamoDB. And this is the entire team, including the CTO, the engineering director. We're all sat there watching the same video, building the same mental model. But then we jumped on the code, and we were writing code together, which is the reports that we got from the teams is much less stressful than any other paradigm that we were used to. And when we're building this event model, we actually jumped on with other teams as well, and we actually designed the event model together or evolved it together because they had the context that the team was missing. So it's really, really important to think about doing things together. The final thing, and this was my favorite one, is show the thing. And show it every week and seek feedback. What do I mean by show the thing? Wherever I work, there's this culture of like, I can't show something that's not finished. I can't, it's too early. Oh, they won't be able to tell us anything. And this is probably my favorite screenshot of the whole experience. It's a loyalty summary for a customer with emojis and some text returned by an AWS API gateway. And all the people on the call, there's the CEO on the left, stakeholders, all there, we're showing something that's very, very lean. And we did that every week. Other weeks, we showed the results of a survey that the UX designer composed and ran. Or we would show a mirror board with the event model, things like that. But we did the survey in parallel, and we showed to the stakeholders so that we can get some feedback. Another favorite thing for me is that we actually do a restaurant work experience, and we do the restaurant Gemba walk, as I've termed it, which is all about going to understand their systems and how they work with our systems and other systems as well. In this case, Mark learns all about how to make a bag of chips, salt and vinegar chips, taco chips, all these things. So he became a real expert. So with that, I think the key thing I want to share is what we achieved, what we learned along the journey. We tend to say that we want to build the right thing, but we want to build the thing right. So we have evidence that we built the right thing. So the first evidence is you can go online, you can accrue stamps, you can get a text message, then this is in person, then you can go online, you can accrue loyalty, the same loyalty program as well. We also got some great feedback from Oakfire. They said, they speak very highly of loyalty. They said it's amazing, so I guess I'll take that signal as a really good thing. Also, in terms of more quantitative numbers, we have the system being used even just 3 months after we started building it. But we also built the thing right, and this was really, really important to me. These are the 5 things that I noticed that I think are indicators that we built the thing right. First off, AWS serverless. One thing I'll call out is DynamoDB. The team was really surprised at how effective DynamoDB was. Although there's a bit of a steep learning curve, it's actually a really joy to work with. Testability was baked in, so we wrote tests as we were trying to understand the system. We wrote tests about setting tags on spans as well, so we were testing our observability as we were going along, and we baked in observability. We did look at observability a bit later on. We didn't start from the very beginning, but we ended up with domain metrics on the top left. You can't really see it. Traces that integrate with existing systems as well, but also looking at pipelines to keep that those pipeline times low and the error ratio quite low as well. That's my only observability slide, by the way. But then we also built decouple systems. So we didn't just bolt loyalty onto orders. And it's interesting because orders and loyalty is something that you probably see as a classic paradigm or example of well-architected systems. But we built loyalty completely separately. And as a consequence, Mark had a light bulb moment where he said that, actually, we can actually do things that we couldn't have done if we built our system within orders itself. We built it separately so we can do things that wouldn't be possible otherwise. We've also taken a very, very event-driven approach. So if you think about if you cast your minds back to the sticky notes that I started with there's not exactly these, but things like order start and order placed and order refunded is implemented via lambdas that you store in Dynamo. Then you've got a data capture change. You've got another lambda who puts things on a queue, and ultimately you do the thing that you care about, which is calculate rewards and calculate progress. This may seem complex, but it's resilient by default, and that's really powerful. We also took an event-sourced approach. So we stored all the events in a single table, and then we stored views and things like that, so we had to learn all of that. But we did it, and it works. So what worked really, really well? The team was really happy with the tech stack. Again, showing the thing means that the team was not a black box. Event modeling was really, really powerful, and other teams are doing it now as well for even bigger projects. Mob programming was liberating, and we took this dual-track discovery and delivery approach with UX, where we were writing the code, but at the same time we were doing the UX research, and that was really, really powerful as well. There was a lot of communication there. Obviously, it's not all great, so in retrospect, what didn't go so well and what we learned for our next project is we didn't revisit the event model as much as we'd like to. The subsequent designs of, for example, Dynamo tables weren't as future-proof, but we've sort of corrected that already. Integration testing sort of fell behind. One important thing is actually moving to a completely new tech stack. Actually getting historical data needs a bit more thinking, which we didn't do initially, and we are now. And when you go to serverless, if you release to only one customer, especially if you're in the restaurant tech industry where it's really, really quiet in the morning and there's like specific times where there's specific peaks, you can get cold starts, but that gets resolved once we release to all the customers. So to wrap up, we asked ourselves, how do we offer satisfyingly simple loyalty across in-person and online? These are the 5 ingredients of success, which can work together interchangeably. And my learning is it is possible. We didn't go for the ideal system. It's not perfect, but it absolutely did pave the way. And these are sort of our next steps. Other teams are adopting this model as well. And that's me. Thank you very much.